Bosses are one of the major aspects of the Legend of Zelda series, but maybe not as talked about as often are mini-bosses. You will usually find them midway through a dungeon, and upon defeating it, be rewarded with either a key item or something like the boss key. In the 3D era, we saw a bit more spectacle and emphasis put on mini-bosses, so today I want to rank every 3D Zelda game's mini-bosses. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ryan here from Game Essays. This channel is all about covering my favorite game series, which is The Legend of Zelda. So if you enjoy Zelda content, including reviews, tier lists, other types of rankings, I highly encourage you to both like and subscribe to the channel. We're getting really close to that 1,000 subscriber milestone, and I've got some big plans, including a giveaway and a live stream. So definitely, if you want to be a part of that, make sure to subscribe. But today, I previously ranked 3D Zelda bosses, and today we're going to look at 3D Zelda mini-bosses. Also, a quick note, I just did a review on Skyward Sword HD. I worked really hard on that video, so I'd appreciate it if you guys would check that out too after this video. But let's get started. 3D Zelda bosses, we're just going to go in order of the 3D games, so we'll start with Ocarina and we'll go all the way up to Breath of the Wild. First up, we have the Stolfos, and I have a little guide here so that I know the names and what dungeons these guys are in, just in case I forget, because there is a lot to cover. But Stolfos, you find them in Dodongo's Cavern. You actually fight them twice in pairs, and to me, just what we're up against, I'm gonna put this in a D. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just that it's a little bit underwhelming. They run away from you, so it's hard to kill them fast. There are strategies to kill them a little bit faster, but at the end of the day, it's just not the most exciting fight. And yeah, so this is in, like I said, Dodongo's Cavern. Deku Tree doesn't really have a mini-boss, so there you go. Anyway, next up we have Big Octo inside Jabu Jabu's belly. And I would probably give this one a B. He's definitely more intimidating, a big step up from the Stolfos. He's definitely tricky. You gotta hit him with a boomerang. What I like to do usually, I throw the boomerang at him, and then if he's facing the wrong way and I can't like slash him from behind, I'll let him spin around again and just hit him with the boomerang again, and I keep doing that basically until he's facing away from me, and then I'll jump slash him. And if you jump slash him with Deku sticks in the N64 version, I think you can kill him in like 1 or 2 hits. But there you go. Now, I just realized that the Stolfos from the Forest Temple is missing here. But we will just say that you fight, I want to say you fight at least 3 of them. I think you fight 1 and then 2 more come down. But in any case, we will say that they are, I'll put them at B tier because they always kick my ass. So just use your imagination that the Stolfos were here. Because I had to build this tier list, so there might be some ones I forgot. Forgive me. But they're B tier. I believe, just close your eyes and pretend it's there. I know you can do it. Okay, and then we have the Pose sisters from the Forest Temple. So this also is a bit of a mini boss. They don't really reward you with anything except to be able to go down into the boss room. But they are a mini boss, and you have to you basically have to spot the fake Poe that spins around, and then the flames light up and you get to go down to the boss. But anyway, it was the first like 3D iteration of this type of fight, but I believe there's something like this in A Link to the Past, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I think this is another B tier. Pretty good. Now we go to, and I think it's called Meg, by the way. But anyway, Flame Dancer from the Fire Temple. This one's a C tier for me because it's so annoying chasing this thing around. I'm not good at killing this one fast, right? Because, and especially if you wait too long and you don't like hook shot this thing out, then you're gonna be in trouble. It starts throwing some crazy stuff at you. But if you're able to take care of it early, when it starts like doing its little dance, you can dispose of it pretty quickly. But yeah, when it comes out and it starts running around, when it's out of its flame body, it's really annoying to try and get those extra hits on it. But yeah, some of those fights where it's just like, a lot of times you're either like waiting or it's annoying, I'm gonna rank a little bit lower. Now, for the ice caverns, and probably what is just one of the lamest mini bosses, we have just a white Wolfos. So that's gonna be a D tier. You're just so overpowered to fight one of these things at this point that it's just really a complete joke. So yeah, I think I wouldn't have it any other way than D tier for this one. Now, when we get to Dark Link in the Water Temple, I mean, that's got to go all the way up into S tier. It's an amazing set piece where you're in this water area and there's just one tree in the middle, and then you go to the other side, and then all of a sudden it's your reflection, and then you turn around and boom, Dark Link. And you gotta be clever. Like, there's a way with the Megaton Hammer where you can just, if you're not targeting, just turn around and smack them each time. But yeah, it's a challenging fight. It's super cool. I love it. Definite S tier. Dead Hand, who can be found in the bottom of the well, as well as in the Shadow Temple, is, I mean, I feel like he's gonna get S tier just for being complete nightmare fuel. I'm sure many kids had some sleepless nights because of Dead Hand back in 1998. Yeah, Dead Hand is great. Like, he's just got all these like hands sticking out of the ground, and then he grabs you, and then he comes out of the ground, and yeah, it's nightmare fuel when his jaw unhinges and comes after you. It's some spooky, scary stuff. The Iron Knuckle. Wait, is it Iron Knuckle time already? I believe it is. Okay. Yeah, Iron Knuckle is in the Spirit Temple. Yeah, did we already? Yeah, we covered Forest. We covered. Yeah, okay. Iron Knuckle, I think, is another S tier. It's a really fun fight. It's intense. It's one of the, Iron Knuckle is one of the more aggressive enemies in Ocarina of Time. There's a lot of not so aggressive enemies. And yeah, Iron Knuckle is just fun. And then I'm not going to rank like Nibiru's Iron Knuckle fight any different, because it really is like literally the same fight, except there's like a cutscene. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of all rank them as one. But nevertheless, I do think it's a really fun fight, and then you fight more of them towards the end of the game. But I really enjoy Iron Knuckles. They're just, yeah, they're one of the better enemies in the game. Okay, we're gonna move on now to Majora's Mask. In the Woodfall Temple, we just have this Dinalfos, which didn't really see enough attention in Ocarina, so I'm glad they got a bit more attention in Majora's Mask. But yeah, it's a little bit underwhelming. So I'm probably just gonna put it as D tier. It's not really that great. It's just kind of like they made a standard enemy a mini boss. But one thing Majora's Mask did was some dungeons actually have 2 mini bosses, which is really cool. And we also got the Gecko and Snapper. And I only have the Gecko in here once, so I'm going to rank both of his encounters, but I like both of his encounters a lot. In the first encounter, he rides on a turtle, and you basically become Deku Link, and you try to get, you burrow into a flower, and then when he rolls over you, you come up and you burst through and knock him off, and then you start attacking the Gecko. And then later on, when you have the ice arrows in the Great Bay Temple, he's in like this bubble, and he goes up to the ceiling, and then you just shoot the ice arrows, and then he comes crashing down. But I think both fights are pretty good, so I would actually put him at A tier for both. We have the Wizrobe in Majora's Mask, who shows up in the Snowhead. He shows up in the Ancient Castle of Icona. He shows up in the Stone Tower Temple. He's also in the Secret Shrine, but I'm not, I'm not going to really get into that. But I'm probably not going to get into like side content stuff unless it just overlaps. But anyway, Wizrobe, he's kind of like a C tier for me. The fact that he shows up so many times, I think he kind of wears out his welcome, and it's kind of just gets, by the end of the game, I think you're just kind of over this guy. And then we get to Wart, who is in the Great Bay Temple, and Wart, I would probably also put in a C tier. It's not a terrible fight. It's definitely a lot better than the 3 fights that are underneath it on this list. It just takes so long. I mean, I know there's strategy like bombing and stuff, but then you get way more bubbles going everywhere. Yeah, it's just it's annoying and it takes too long. That's basically my main complaint. We have the Captain Kita in the Icona Graveyard. This one I think is a B. It sucks when you fail it, because I have failed it, because I think you have to like do the whole thing over again. But it is intense. If you know what to do, you can do this really, really fast. But I like it. It's unique. Then we go to... we have the King's Lackeys, and I think we have them all together in one. The King. Is that the King right here? I think it is. But yeah, I'm going to put them all as one, and I think I'd put them as an A. You have to basically shine the light through the castle, and there's some comedy with it. I appreciate the story behind it and everything, but yeah, I enjoy those fights quite a bit. It's like Egos do Icona, and then the King's Lackeys, I think is what they're called. Garrow Master, I think, is a B tier. These guys are pretty cool. He like comes down above you and you have to get out of the way and then just slash him, and then he blows himself up at the end when he fails. So yeah, that's a thing. The Garrow Master, he's in the Stone Tower Temple mainly, but I believe he's also in the Secret Shrine and the Moon as well. And then we get to Gomez, I believe is how you pronounce his name. If I pronounced it wrong, let me know. Gomez is going S tier, baby, just because it's a super cool design. He's got all these bats. He looks like the Grim Reaper. He kind of looks like the Darkrai Pokemon a little bit too. That he kind of reminds me of that. But then you shoot the light arrows to get the bats out of the way, and then you can slash him. It's like not the most complicated fight or anything, but it's really cool looking. Yeah, I mean, looking cool is a factor for me. It doesn't have to be, the set piece part of it works for me too. Even if it's not the most complicated boss fight, if it looks cool, you're going to get points in my opinion. But I believe I covered everything for Majora's Mask. There's other stuff like Iron Knuckle, but I would just rate it the same in a Big Poe. But those are not necessarily like in the main quest. I know the Iron Knuckle is in the Moon, so that would count. But again, it would be the same ranking because it's basically the same fight. Okay, now we go to Wind Waker. And Wind Waker is kind of weak on the mini bosses now that I've kind of looked at it. So at the... what is it called? Dragon Roost Cavern, it's just a Moblin. And I know you're kind of working your way up to it, but it's just a Moblin, man. So D tier. We get a little bit better in the Forbidden Woods where we have Mothula. And this one, I mean, you can just destroy this thing pretty quickly. But it's a step up. So I will give it a C tier. Then we have Stolfos in the Earth Temple. And actually, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. We have a Dark Nut that is in the Tower of the Gods. And that I will give a B tier. So I know they become regular enemies later, but I do think Dark Nuts are really fun enemies, and it's a worthwhile enemy to be like a mini boss to start out. So I'll stick with that. And I'm going to say the same thing with the Earth Temple with the Stolfos. It's not like your everyday Stolfos. these guys were a bit more intimidating, and I think they made for a good, like, formidable mini-boss in Wind Waker. The Wizrobe that spawns a bunch of stuff is kind of annoying, but it does make for a decent challenge. So I'll probably put him at B. I might move the Dark Nut to C, to be honest. I think the Stolfos makes for a better mini-boss. And if you know how to parry, the Dark Nut is really kind of meh. So yeah, I think it's more fair to move him down to C. Phantom Ganon, though, always an awesome time. So I think Phantom Ganon's gonna be... This version of Phantom Ganon, not quite as good as like Ocarina Phantom Ganon. I think he's A tier. I don't think he's quite S tier. I mean, well, you know what? He's S tier, because if you think about his whole sequence where you have to keep destroying him and his swords points to the correct way to go in Ganon's Tower. Yeah, you fight him a couple times, and especially Ganon's Tower version is pretty darn good. So I think S tier is fine. Yeah, and that does it for Wind Waker. So we go on to Twilight Princess, and we got Ook. We got Ook the baboon with his boomerang. And this is a memorable fight. For some reason, when I think of like Twilight Princess mini bosses, I do think of Ook. He's got personality. It's unique. You know, you're running into the totem poles. I think Ook honestly gets an A. And the fact that you smack him in the butt, you know, points for that. Points for the comedy. And the music's pretty awesome too, actually. All right, Twilight Princess, we got Dangoro, which is another pretty good fight where you're basically doing like crazy, intense, like sumo wrestling to the death type of stuff going on. Use your iron boots to stick to the metal flooring when you need to, but then you're also trying to toss this big Goron off the side into the lava and burn him, which, question for you guys, because I thought, you know, Majora's Mask in your Goron form, you can go in the lava. So why is he being hurt by lava? It might be, I haven't played the game in a couple years, so maybe I'm missing something there, but let me know about that. Why is he getting hurt by the lava? I thought Gorons were okay in that. Yeah, let me know. Anyway, I think this is another A tier mini boss in my opinion. Then we have the Shadow Kargarok. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is just kind of like a C tier fight. It's nothing crazy. You basically you attack him so that you can fly up Zora's River, basically. It's very, very quick. It's barely like a mini boss, I think. But then we'd have the Twilight, or the Twilight Bloat, the big bug, the final bug that you have to deal with in the game to be able to just not have to do those Twilight sections anymore. I don't remember thinking anything too crazy about this one, but I think it's at least a B tier. Deku Toad is disgusting. B tier. I think the Skull Kid stuff, you go through this sequence twice, once to get the Master Sword when you're going through the Lost Woods, and again for the Temple of Time. It's annoying, but it's better than like garbage tier, so I'd say it's C. Then we have Death Sword. Death Sword, again, another spectacle kind of fight that looks really cool. So S tier. It's not the most complicated fight, but like I said, spectacle, coolness, that goes a long way for me. It gets an S tier. Dark Hammer. I like Dark Hammer. I would probably give like a high B, I would say. The item is a lot cooler, I think, than the boss fight, because you just kind of hook shot up behind him, slash him a bunch of times, and it's over. So yeah, I would just say I love the item, but the fight isn't as cool as the item. Dark Nut, I think, has to be S tier. This version of a Dark Nut, it's a way more intense fight than the Wind Waker Dark Nut, so I think that's an S tier in my opinion. And then we have Aerolphos. it's all Alphos. They managed to squeeze so many words in front of Alphos in Zelda. But I like this one quite a bit, actually. This is definitely an A tier for me. He's got a sword and a shield, and he's flying around, and you get a hook shot him in and smack the crap out of him. I like it. Phantom Zant. I'm trying to remember, but I think this one's a little annoying, but it's still kind of cool. So B tier. My memory's a little hazy on this one, but I know when you're in the Palace of Twilight and you make it to the end, I think there's a bunch of, he like shows up in a bunch of different forms. I mean, there's multiple copies of him if I remember right. I'm a little hazy in this one, but I remember being a little bit annoying, so B tier. Then we got King Bulblin. He's kind of your rival throughout Twilight Princess, and the multiple encounters. By the end, the dude respects you. I like it. He's an S tier for me, because again, like telling a story too. I dig that. So I think that's an S tier for me. Now we're on to Skyward Sword, where, in my opinion, things get kind of weak for mini bosses. We have the Stolfos, which again, opening up with the Stolfos, I think he's like a high C tier, because Stolfos are a little bit more formidable in Skyward Sword than in other games, because you have to get used to the motion controls and everything. And then the Lizalfos, they have, who are even more intimidating. I think they're also, I'd give them like a high C, and I put it above it. But they kind of have it mimicking Dodongo's Cavern in the Earth Temple. But yeah, I wouldn't put it any higher than C, but like I think it's like a C+, and I think that's fair. And then we kind of go into the Stall Master, which is a little bit more interesting in the Ancient Cistern. But I'll give that like a B- again, because it's like the design is where things are getting kind of They're just kind of very standard enemies. So yeah, B- because it's a little bit more interesting. You get the zombies and stuff in the mix, but not really that great. I think Skyward Sword, they just kind of fell off. But then Skirvo goes right up to S tier on the sand ship. This is the one mini boss that they got right in the game. Other than that, the rest are really underwhelming, because then in the Fire Sanctuary, it's Magmanos, which is pretty lame. I would say it's like a C- in my opinion. You just like turn the hand into rock and then destroy it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not very, very interesting at all, I would say. Yeah, so there you go. And then Dreadfuse, it's basically the same boss, so to be fair, I will put it up in an S tier, as I did with the Iron Knuckle. I think it's only fair. It's the same fight, but it's a great fight, so it's S tier. And then for mini bosses, it's a little bit trickier in Breath of the Wild, because there really isn't proper mini bosses. But what I decided instead was to take a look at the sub bosses, I guess is what they're called. Zelda Dungeon calls them sub bosses. And I didn't go through all the different versions of, say, the Stone Talus, because they're basically the same fight, but with a little bit of a twist to it. But anyway, Stone Talus, I would say, is like, I'd give it like a C. Hinox is a little bit more fun, so I guess I would give it a B. It's just not too much to say about these guys. And then we have Molduga. Again, I would probably, this where you're like, it's the big sand dude, and you have to try not get hit and defeat it. So I'd also kind of give this one a B, but maybe I'm even ranking these too high. I don't know. And then I put a Guardian. Like, I don't know if a Guardian would count, but a Guardian is a great enemy. Like, I don't know if they count as a mini boss. They feel like a mini boss. So I'd give a Guardian an A. It's not like a boss, but they definitely feel like a boss when you're dealing with them. And then maybe one that actually is more like a mini boss is what are they even called? Just the Guardian Scouts, I believe is what they're called. And they get a little repetitive, but I'd at least give the Guardian Scout a B. Yeah, it's a little bit tougher with Breath of the Wild. It's just very different. But I think those are pretty fair for where I'd put them. But I don't know. You guys let me know if you disagree. But there we go. I'm pretty sure I covered pretty much all the mini bosses in the 3D Legend of Zelda games. So if you enjoy the content, let me know what you guys think. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, help me get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can do a really fun 1,000 subscriber special. Like I said, giveaways. The giveaway, I think Zelda fans, you're a Zelda fan, I assume if you're watching this, I do think it's a giveaway that Zelda fans will appreciate. I already have it in mind. And then I'm excited to do a 1,000 subscriber live stream where we can have just a fun Q&A, just talk some Zelda. I'll probably be playing some Zelda, but it's more about talking to you guys, getting your thoughts. It's a little bit easier to directly respond and just keep that conversation going. But anyway, make sure to let me know what you guys thought of the tier list. What are your favorite mini bosses? What is your S tier? Let me know, and I will see you guys next time.